Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Anything Wrestling Podcast. Welcome back to another very special episode. Yes, this episode is as special as the very next NXT call-up that will not be botched.
Wait, are we insinuating that this episode isn't going to be special then? Or are we suggesting that the next NXT call-up that's special, or sorry, that's not botched is special?
I already lost you.
Me too. Just like WWE and control over their product. Which consequently you...
Go ahead.
I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
I'm not a betting
I said
man,
hold on.
but I think he wants us to hold
I
on.
think I said hold on.
To what?
To the chairs, to the table, to the
window,
ladder.
to the windows, to the walls.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is the Commish. I am the advocate of the podcast. I am the advocate of this episode for the matter that things are either going to take a turn for the better, the worst, the best in the world. Myself, not Shane McMahon. So I think what he was trying to say is that if the NXT call-up is special, he might not get botched for the unspecial show, depending on which program he goes to. But if he goes to a program that's not special, although it may be special, it could be regarded that he isn't special overall, although we do know he is special since he is an NXT call-up. And oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, next time I'll just stick to the regular introduction.
Hey, you wanted something different. We all want something different. The product has needed to be different. Oh, wait, I'm doing it again.
Do you have something you want to get off your chest?
No, it's too early in the show for that because we haven't even discussed or let anyone know what we're talking about today.
So, today's episode, ladies and gentlemen,
Is brought to you by the WWE Network, where you can get it for a non-negotiable but very reasonable price of only $9.99.
$9.99.
It's not $10.
It's not $1,000.
not $1 million.
But
$9.99.
So, if you guys are current wrestling fans, you'll know that we have officially entered a new regime in wrestling. Paul Heyman is taking over, what is it, creative director? Was that the name?
Probably. I think it's executive creative director for both of
Executive creative director of Raw, and Eric Bischoff will be executive creative director of SmackDown.
them.
I'm back.
Which is a little ironic given the fact that they
Can you sing the
weren't they
whole verses?
respectively on
The opposite.
the opposite show back in the day?
Yeah. But I think like Vince will probably always say it's time to spice things up again.
Are you sure he's saying that? Because I don't think he even knows that he just reversed their roles.
Get it, Rolls? If only The Rock could come back and go, hey, know your roles. Get it? Because like Rolls and then like...
You're really trying here, aren't you, with
job
this?
responsibility. I get it.
Do you? Do you?
Do you?
Do you?
It doesn't matter if you do.
But do you? Do
No.
you?
No.
Do you?
Anyway, so we're talking about the Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff shows, and how we suspect they'll do, how they compare to previous iterations.
Well, let's just remind our network of fans and our network of our universe.
Did I hear network?
Yeah, you did.
And this one's not $9.99.
Let's just remind the audience of Mr. Bischoff and Mr. Heyman's contributions in the beginning of their respective WWE careers, not their formerly WCW.
wrestling, or
EC careers. Paul Heyman came first back in 2001, but he was part of a storyline, but he was also given creative writing control of SmackDown
that was in
in 02.
03.
Well, he said his career for writing started in 02 to 06.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's always had a hand in as far as like knowing what the audience wants and knowing how to give like stories.
Yeah.
Eric Bischoff was brought in
2002.
2002?
Yeah.
Like beginning summer possibly? He wasn't brought in at the very beginning of the year. No, after Mania, I think.
No, it was definitely after Mania. I want to say mid 02.
Because Vince wanted to immediately shake things up as far as like what he wanted, because he's like, all right, well, SmackDown is starting to progress into the true B show it could be, even though it has A-listed superstars at the time. But you still have Eric Bischoff like, okay, how do I start off Raw for like this audience? Oh, I'm the antagonist to Vince McMahon's protagonist, because it always seemed like on Raw, Vince was like, oh, I hired you. I expect you to do a goddamn good job or you're fired. On SmackDown, he had a rivalry with Hulk Hogan at the time.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, he was always the antagonist on SmackDown.
Yeah.
It's like he was the heel on SmackDown and the babyface on Raw, which was kind of weird for him.
Yeah.
But he expected the best out of these two as far as what they delivered. Now, from what I remember from like 03 to 06 or 02 to 06, for as far as both go, the product was very viewable back then.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we got a lot out of
Ruthless aggression era, basically.
yeah. But if you can highlight main superstars for both rosters at the time, like let's start with Raw. Who did Eric make really stand out at the
Triple
time?
H, first and foremost.
Well, that's when the development of the biggest, second biggest shovel in the world was given.
Who was
Triple
the
H.
first?
Are you kidding me? No one can see him.
No, at the time.
Oh, if it's at the time, then yeah, it's
Yeah,
Triple
that's
H.
the biggest.
But still, I mean, of history-wise, it's...
I don't know what you're talking about.
you can't see him.
I can't see your point.
Is it because you can't see him?
Yeah.
Okay. And no one saw his movie, The Marine, either. Anyways.
I did.
No, we're not talking about the Marine 6, the good one.
Yeah. All right, let's go back before we derail again.
Yes.
Triple H. Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Because he was drafted from SmackDown to Raw eventually within that 4-year span and back and forth. Ric Flair, Batista, even Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
Like, those are 6 standouts for Raw.
Yeah.
On SmackDown,
Brock Lesnar, Eddie Guerrero, Edge,
Rey Mysterio.
Kurt Angle.
Here's a 6. You can add a 6th person to that
Undertaker?
if you really think. Yes.
JBL.
JBL was.
And the only reason why JBL was champion was because...
Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays.
There it is.
Even though the show was supposedly on a Thursday. Let's be real. They finally put it on a Tuesday, though. And it's decent.
But you'll notice Triple H isn't there.
No, because he's
Not
on
yet.
Wednesdays.
Until that Fox deal.
Which that's going to be interesting based on what I've been reading.
So, again, 6 superstars that equally stood out from both shows.
Yeah.
You constantly had great storylines, great rivalries, and even, like...
Pacing on the show was good.
There was never a dull moment. And plus, here's the thing, though. I hope that this starts to happen, because kind of did, like you mentioned off air with Paul Heyman, the beginning of Raw, is that Paul Heyman would tell, I don't think he would tell, but I think he would kind of like instruct like the matches to not last like 5-10 minutes, because sometimes you would get classic matches on SmackDown. Like Edge was just on top of his game on SmackDown before he became to
Rated
Raw.
R superstar.
Yeah. And then on Raw is just, you would get decent matches, but it was more the controversy that Eric would bring.
Yeah.
So they each had a balance where, like, you're so tuned in on Monday, but you want to know what's going to happen on Thursday.
Yeah.
Here's where I kind of found it a little bit of like, why are we doing this? The whole pay-per-view
Dan?
thing.
Why? Why are we doing this?
When
Raw-
they decided to do the whole, like, oh, we'll have a Raw pay-per-view, we'll have a SmackDown pay-per-view. And the only time we would cross over is, like, big main events like WrestleMania,
the big
Survivor
four.
Series.
The big four, yeah.
To me, it's like, that's the only time you ever see, like, the interaction between these two brands, but it's like, you know, there's someone who has a rivalry low-key in the locker room, probably with someone from Raw of SmackDown or SmackDown of Raw. And to me, it's like, that was the only thing I didn't like about the respective runs. The whole brand split pay-per-view thing. Other than that, like, the shows were great to watch because you always anticipated what would come next or who would outdo the other as far as, like, the event. Brand
Now the
split.
thing that I liked about the brand split was the fact that it gave, when you had those brand specific pay-per-views, it gave you an entire pay-per-view to focus on the storylines for that show. And they were the regular ass 4-hour time frame, which I think that's honestly about the attention span that a wrestling fan is going to have for one of these shows.
Especially now, because if you think about in 0206, there were really no iPhones or Instagrams or Facebook, so people were a little bit more like, okay, let's tune in. But now it's like 5 minutes in, if you don't have the audience hooked, everybody's either texting or, you know.
WWE shop wasn't advertised as much, and neither was, like, other things nowadays that these seems like...
Like the WWE Network for a non-negotiable but very reasonable price of only $9.99.
Speaking of $9.99, I'm sure that the WWE Network is part of the reason that these shows are longer is because they probably can't justify.
restrictions.
Well, I was going to say they can't justify doing as many or breaking the shows up that way because every show had its own stage. Every show had its own people.
Yeah.
You had a Raw show 2 weeks later, a SmackDown show. Then you had the joint pay-per-view. Now you've got one 7-hour show with everybody on it, and then you move on to the next thing. So that's probably a reason why these pay-per-views have gotten to be as long as they are, is because you're shoving both a Raw and a SmackDown pay-per-view into it. But it's clumsily done because back in the day, you spent 4 hours on each show and you actually focused on it versus what you've got now where you've got a couple of matches that are legitimately 4 minutes and you're like, that didn't do anything for anybody.
You know, talking about SmackDown and Raw of this time, and maybe this was Bischoff and Heyman and Vince at the time, but you felt like Raw and SmackDown were different shows. You didn't feel like when you tuned into SmackDown, it wasn't just, oh, here we go, it's a toned down version of Raw. Like, no, maybe it was the stage and the set design and the different announcers and just the whole presentation. Yeah, exactly, the fist. And what's so funny is that
Which I loved climbing up onto during
yeah,
the SmackDown game.
shut your mouth. That was
Hilarious.
the best part. You would just climb up and then you would do like a diving attack.
Or just accidentally walk off the edge and then
Yeah.
you're dead.
Or you would jump off and your opponent would move out of the way and you're like, holy shit, I'm about to lose the match.
Focus!
Oh.
What the hell?
It's a preview for a future episode.
There will be a
Chill.
gaming episode coming up.
Down, down, up, up.
It's the reverse way. Accept it.
No, I know. I was just afraid of copyright. We could
Left,
do
right,
Maybe
left, right.
left, right. There we go. There we go.
Didn't I just come up with that with you?
I was going to say it as you were saying it. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Hey, focus. See?
Says the guy who started the unfocus.
Says the guy who
for Christ's
brought attention to the unfocused, but then got unfocused.
Look, I'm going to bring focus to both of the unfocus and the unrest and get us back focused. Let's go.
Oh no, I'm going cross-eyed.
No, I love Austin Powers. But yeah, and
Got
what's
that one, by the way.
Come
What?
Come on.
okay. And what's so funny is that back at that time, everybody got their stories in. Whether you were, light heavyweight, main eventer, first guy on the card, last guy on the
Funaki,
card.
SmackDown #1 announcer.
Literally, everybody got airtime. And by the way, those backstage segments of before made a whole lot more sense than the segments of now. I was telling Kamish, If you saw Ricochet's backstage promo on Monday, it was so cringe. And it's not him. It's just you can tell these guys are like, they're heavily scripted. It's like you got to nail this and say this exactly
There's somebody
this way.
off screen with a sniper rifle if they go off.
Or a cue card.
You say the words. You say the goddamn words, Ricochet.
You want that pay grade or not? Read the cue card.
Good God.
This got dark. So, the backstage segments.
Yes.
As you were saying.
Okay, do you want to mention the other backstage segment that made you cringe? Seth, Becky.
Oh my God.
What was it?
Is it the one with Maria and
That
Mike?
one was a little too much. That Maria thing.
Yeah, none of that makes any sense.
I
don't
would never.
I was cringing. I'm like, what is going on right now? Are we trying? Is this like a Jerry Springer, 2.0 type of thing going on?
I feel like I've seen that bit somewhere though.
Now I would like to think that they're then going to try and do something with Mike and Maria versus them having just been in the locker room every week.
You
Because
mean the catering?
yeah, probably. I hear the cake's delicious.
Ask Braun.
But maybe they're actually now that Paul's taken the reins, they're going to try and funnel in more of the people who could be highlighted that we just haven't utilized at all. But this
Almost
was
everybody.
but this was a bad way to try and do it.
Well, okay.
What the hell was that?
Hold on. Before we jump immediately into the present, like, because it's still the past because it just happened 2 days ago.
Yeah.
How did the show start on Raw, first of all?
Excellent.
No, before the match. Like, there was something that happened before, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, there was a botch.
The worst of all botches.
The Street Profits thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Especially on the Instagram page. Wow.
Did they put it up before it even aired?
I think so, and that's what everyone was like, why are these 3 letters in unison together on this Instagram post? Yeah. But did get off to a good start with the Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yes.
And from what I remember, most shows that Paul Heyman wrote on SmackDown, he wouldn't start them with like a promo or like someone coming out for like 10 minutes doing an interview of just blah blah blah. No, he would immediately start the show with a match.
It's because it's a better business model because you start with like you can do your opening segment immediately after that match if you really want to, but at least if you open with a match, then people are like, "This is what we're here for."
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm just gonna start with like 2 cruiserweights, or I'm gonna start with like a bland tag match. He'd be like, I got 2 main eventers. Go.
Yeah.
Give me a 5-star
Why
match.
wouldn't you bookmark the show with big names?
And the best part is what I've been saying for months. If you notice, they started off in the ring, but they actually went to the outside and fought their way until up to the stage. As opposed to before, where it seems like every piece of business is just in the ring,
In the ring.
and it's like, can
And
we
we're done.
yeah, away from the ring. Backstage segments, storytelling out there, not in here, out there.
But eventually that's what kind of started the show to go good on Monday. And then it dwindled. Okay, and I told him this so many times. You can't be handed a turd and make it smell like roses immediately. You gotta work with it
If
for a
somebody
while.
hands me a turd, I'm gonna punch him in the fucking face.
I guess I'm taking a survey here.
Hey, yo.
I know we've talked about this, how we want a lot of the talent to be pushed and we want them to have airtime. I feel like the biggest problem is that when they take a talent, cold turkey from catering, and they put him on the screen and go, here you go, love this person now. Whether that's as a face or a heel or an in-betweener, you have to love them now. And that's what I wanted to bring up was the Maria and Mike Kanellis segment. Yes, we know who Maria is because like those times of 05, 06 where she was like, the blonde, clueless interviewer. But the problem is we haven't seen her or Mike in a very long time. And when you just, as you would say, Dan, just shoehorn them into a segment and go, love these guys, have a reaction, care for them. It's like, It's kind of like the Dana Brooke thing. It's like she was just in a ladder match. It's like,
Isn't she like gone, by the way?
I think
She
she
was
got
injured.
hurt recently, so she's probably recovering.
she only does like commercial segments.
But I think her contract is done.
I have no idea.
Well, then she is blessed. But I mean, wouldn't you guys argue that that's like the improper way of handling talent being recognized or getting a reaction just by saying, you haven't seen this person in a year? Here you go.
I would have probably booked the match differently than the way it went, for a couple of reasons. Unless the point was to just make a mockery out of Maria and Mike. I don't know.
Well,
Also, is it just me or is her voice different now that she's like
a woman.
14 years older?
Age will do that too.
Because I remember her voice being like up here, and it was like, and I'm sure some of it was just affecting, but it was like up here and chipper and like dumb blonde, and now it's like down here, and you're like, Jesus Christ, what happened to you, Maria?
But you know she did that once on Raw, right?
I don't remember.
The trial of Eric Bischoff.
Oh.
Where she was a ditz,
Yes,
like asking
yes.
for Mr. Sacco, then all of a sudden her vocabulary just happened to improve from like a first grader baby, like, oh, this is cute too.
I forgot about
The eloquency of the vernacular, like, you know, it's just like, what?
So
I always liked Maria.
So she goes from Maria to Damien Sandow in no time.
Yep.
Apparently. But the thing was, like I told you, I think they were just shoehorned in because Seth and Becky need we need momentum because apparently
We need a intergender opponent until
Yeah.
Extreme Rules, essentially.
because
But then
What's her
what
name?
in the hell was that conclusion, man?
I
Because
felt bad for Mike. I'm like, what are we doing right now?
anyway, I would have booked the match differently, but I don't know what their intention was. Maybe it was straight up just, oh, well, what couples do we have? Oh, we got Mike and Maria. Throw them in there. They don't need to win. They don't need to look good. Nobody cares anyway.
I think I would have found it more believable if the wild card rule was in place and you put
Say it.
Zelina Vega
And
Andrade.
see.
Whoa! Hold
I'm
on.
sorry.
You can't say. Are you?
No, I'm cleansing the clog sometimes.
See it almost. No one's gonna say bless you after that. God, you guys are very, very rude.
Bless you.
I hate the two of you so much. Anyway,
So he says, thanks for
could've
saying bless you, and I say bless you, and he goes, I hate you guys so much.
Yeah.
well, the way you guys sold it just was very.
I was sincere.
But
Were you though?
Yes.
we love you.
Red face.
To a ginger head.
Yeah, terrifying thought, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Go on.
Brother love.
What were we saying?
I think it would have been better if you booked those two. Because one, it brings credibility to two people who have
Thank
already
you.
been established on the show as far as SmackDown goes. But you give that whole, the wild card rule is in effect. And then you give them an actual opponent worth fighting.
Yeah.
Or you can save them for next week and book them against Lacey Evans and Baron.
Oh, that's going to be a double-edged sword for you if that match happens, because you got Zelina Vega on one side. Then
If I could see the woman's right across Zelina's face, I'd be okay with it.
You know, I'm kind of scared because I feel like if that happens, then she'll just switch into one accent full-time.
Well, maybe that's what it should be.
And then you can finally calm down.
Can I, though?
No.
And you can
Can I?
finally catch it on the WWE Network for the non-negotiable but very reasonable price of only $9.99. Oh.
What were we even talking about? Oh, yeah.
The way the show currently went, even though we are still supposed to be talking about the past, but yet we've managed to jump 06 to 19, 13 years ahead of time,
good
not
math.
properly discussing the vernacular of the show and how it's supposed to be
Yeah,
going.
okay,
Again with
Maria,
the vernacular.
Okay,
Cross on.
Maria, chill.
Okay, Maria split personality.
It's not a split personality. It's just
Calls that
intrigue.
person.
I would have preferred to see a competitive match with,
Someone credible.
yeah. Like here's the thing with where I perceive Baron to be on the card.
Jackass.
is Andrade and Zelina are a better matchup for Becky and Seth because I take Andrade seriously as a competitor and I take Seth seriously as a competitor. Baron, I do not. If you want to put Mike Kanellis and Maria against somebody, put them against the two jackasses.
Jackass and the woman's right.
Jackass and the Beast. What?
What?
No. So anyway, Brock Lesnar's in the match now.
Apparently, the Beast in the bank.
Lacey and Baron, because then if Mike and Maria have to lose to build those two's credibility, it's not the end of the world. But it just, I think that if you take somebody down here and put them against somebody up here, it makes this person look worse.
Exactly.
When they lose, versus somebody here. It's sort of a relative scale. If you have people who are closer to each other in terms of compatibility,
A lot of vocabulary.
then it looks, you can buy into it more.
Agreed.
That's part of the reason why Baron and Lacey as the opponents for Seth and Becky also doesn't really land for me because I don't care about either of them really.
But Vince McMahon does.
Well, Vince is high on opioids right now, so I don't know what to tell you.
Opioids, you said.
Yeah.
Or you cannot find.
I don't want to go off on a tangent about it. Never mind. I was gonna rant for a second about
please rant.
Lacey and
This
Baron.
podcast is all about ranting. Please.
I mean, this episode's just deeply gone off the rails at this point.
So my beef with Baron and Lacey is like Baron. I just straight up don't care about.
Wait. I think it's time to introduce a new portion of the show where instead of me being real, Dan the man is about to get real.
So as I was saying, why? Why is Baron Corbin even a main eventer? I just did it. Why?
I need it from the diaphragm.
Why is Baron Corbin even in the main event? So
see what happens when you get diaphragm?
So Baron, I don't care about. I don't think most people really care about him.
Clearly.
A lot of people regard him, like within wrestling from what I've seen, as a great heel.
Jackass.
F that guy. Like, I don't need him in the main event. He's another guy who... I don't think he looks like a main eventer. I think he's a great stooge / mid-carder. I don't buy him as a legitimate threat to Seth Rollins.
Or anyone.
It's Dan's turn to
And God bless Lacey, because I've always been an advocate for giving the women time to get better. I was the same way with Lana. Lana was not good. She wanted matches. Give her some matches. Don't just fucking lock her out and be like, no, you're not good. Well, let her get better, and then maybe she will be. Same thing with Lacey. Lacey's not unathletic. And she's not bad. Her character work still needs a little bit. And she's messy. We established that every match she's had, basically, between the botched kip up, and I can't remember the second one during Royal Rumble.
The kick.
Well, I'm talking about during the Royal Rumble itself.
There was the kip up.
It was the kip up and something else immediately. And then you have the botched kick segment during the match with Becky.
Which Becky was frustrated, by the way.
Yeah. You have her trip on her way to the ring for the special referee
I didn't
segment.
catch that.
It's a little one. It's not that critical, but she definitely like kicks the floor and kind of stutters. But she's just messy, and I don't know if she's not comfortable in the posture that she's supposed to be carrying, or if she's just not focused. Probably not focused, and in that case, that's a little dangerous, so she needs to work more.
Is she over-focused?
What?
Is she over-focused? He said I can't talk.
Maybe she's I don't know, maybe she's so focused that she's like super tense and super rigid, and that's why she's screwing shit up.
Maybe much like us, she was unfocused.
I just said that.
Sean, it's my time to talk. Anyway, so no, I just don't take either of them seriously as legitimate threats to either title, but we're supposed to. And I don't think we're going to see them take the titles off the two of them come Extreme Rules, but who the fuck knows?
Do we even care about this pairing of Seth and Becky, in all honesty?
Not in the way it's currently being delivered. Honestly, here's the thing. We all love Becky.
You can talk.
We'll open the floor. We're opening the floor.
And he's done.
So, with Seth and Becky, I think that the pairing of the two of them would play better if they were heels. But they're not heels. I don't think that a face power couple is a good look.
But wouldn't you argue that the heel power couple has just been done so many times?
Yes, but it's because it works. Like, you can buy into it. The point of being a heel is to make people want you to lose. So when you've got that egotistical Triple H Stephanie dynamic with somebody, people want to watch those people get their asses kicked. We honestly, as much as I don't care about those two, we want to see our two heroes in Seth and Becky beat the shit out of Baron and Lacey. Am I right?
Yeah.
Clearly.
Now, it works better if, in this hypothetical situation, if Baron and Lacey were your champions. It works. I'm not saying that they should win the titles. I'm saying if we were to take this exact current situation, the storyline would play better if Baron and Lacey were the champions and we had the responding couple of Seth and Becky trying to take the belts, and then they do. Versus the other one, where it's tough to buy into this shitty pseudo-power couple in Lacey and Baron trying to beat the actual good guys.
Did you
I'm not
say that
advocating
the other
for
two
it.
should... What?
No, I'm saying if they were the champions, it would make
What?
more sense as a storyline, but because they aren't, it doesn't make sense. But I'm not advocating that the two of them should be the champions, because Seth and Becky are better champions.
One quick thing about that is that I think over the last year we have just grown to love Seth and Becky. So to kind of derail that love right now is probably not the best. But maybe if it was somewhere down in the future, I would be like, okay. But for now, it's just all about building those two.
Now here's another thing: who do we love more?
Then Seth and Becky.
Well, between the two, who do we love more out of the two? That's really I think that's another point of conflict for the fans is. We love Seth, we love Becky, but who do we love more? So
Kamesh,
now,
wait, hold on. Kamesh, I feel like you have something that you want to say, because I see you sitting in
staring
the corner,
daggers, man.
and you're just staring a hole through Dan the man, and sometimes through myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Kamesh gets real, and go.
First of all, how dare you? How dare you?
I think this would be a great time.
And third of all, how dare you?
In the words of the Iconics, you gotta be joking me.
nope.
There's no accent that you put in there. You gotta be joking me.
Iconic.
Anyways, back to my segment real quick. How the hell dare you want to put that scenario on me like that? Because, no, first of all, that ass clown never she'd even be in the conversation.
How dare you talk about Lacey like that? Go on.
You son of a bitch. How would you put Baron Corbin into that conversation? I don't know how Vince McMahon loves the guy, first of all. Like, it just, it blows my mind that he wants to push a jackass who's in love with a wolf and himself more than anything in the whole free world. It works. It's working. Second,
Neither of those are watches.
I know that. That's why I say it's working. Second, I could accept Lacey Evans as the women's champion, but never will I accept that jackass to be the Universal Champion. I can't even accept him as the United States Champion.
So what you're saying is you will never,
That's why I said you missed
Ever accept Baron Corbin in the conversation of being any type of champion again.
I messed it up too because it's just a short never and a long ever.
Right.
Exactly. Hence why I didn't do it. I tried to save it with the ever, but
So
still.
you will never, ever
Do that.
Can I slap you?
No. Again. And
It's okay, we got it on take 2, which is also in take 1. It's fine.
And that's where I keep it real. Back to Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman and the work that they have on their hand, because it seems like we've only talked about Raw and how it went from great to crap. How would you say SmackDown went last night on Bischoff's first night in charge?
Honestly, SmackDown to me is more watchable.
It's been more
in
watchable.
general.
Maybe it's the 2-hour thing. Maybe.
Maybe because the 3-hour booking of the show isn't booked the way you want.
Well, it's because I agree. I think it's the 3 hours gets
just
gets filler.
drags.
Well, he had a perfect way of building up a 3-hour show, but no one's listening to us in the WWE, even though they should be.
Maybe we should just start posting our video on some WWE pages, so that they go, What are these guys? Oh, those are good ideas. We should listen to these guys once in a while.
Maybe you should hire him.
Is that like a premature teenage kid?
Yeah. No, that was
Since
somebody.
that's how
That was
much-
somebody who works for WWE and a premature teenage kid. They're basically the same thing.
That's true.
They're both idiots as well.
I mean, okay. I guess I'm taking another survey here.
Heyo.
What do you guys think that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff need to do? First order of business. What would you have them do?
Fire everyone in booking, creative, and writing.
And the executives and the wrestlers, and let's just start from scratch. No,
Let's just go all in.
I mean, I'm double or nothing on that.
I'm kind of all out.
You know what? We're gonna fight for the fallen.
This is going to become a fighter fest. By the way, they spelled fighter wrong.
I think that was the point.
I know, I'm just...
We violate all of the rules of improv on this podcast because we just shut the jokes down.
Immediately.
In all honesty, speaking of letting go of people, I think the first thing you got to do is that if you're not utilizing a superstar, let them go.
If you love them, let them go.
Clear up the roster. Give yourself a lot of space and a lot of handle. Then start booking. Okay, we got this guy, this guy, this guy. Then you start booking. As opposed to, well, we have about 80 superstars here and 100 superstars here. Okay, we'll just deal with Seth and Becky and championship. Okay, and that's it. Well, we got our show.
Isn't that what we get now on Raw?
That's what I'm saying. But if you let go of all those people who are not being
So
utilized,
you would trim the fat if
trim
you
the
were
fat
Paul
first.
or
Yes,
Eric.
yes.
But would Vince listen to you?
Oh hell no, because
He should,
his
because those
concern-
two have known what the company has needed for years. And when they had it in the golden era of ruthless aggression, it was great. Yeah, granted, every now and then you squeezed in a bunch of idiots that were not needed within those 4 years, but he still found proper way to utilize them, to build them up, and to also reshape them. Perfect example, Jamal/Umaga. He was a part of 3-Minute Warning, and it was just a gimmick of he's an enforcer, he's a dominant, just heel. Oh, he leaves for a couple years. It's almost around the time I think he was already fired, or he was in the midst of getting fired as far as Eric Bischoff went. He came back rebranded as Umaga, the Samoan Bulldozer.
Which worked.
And the guy, you can count this many losses almost that he had on one hand. The dude remained undefeated. He was a force to be reckoned with, and that reshaped his character. That shows strong character development, character change, something that Eric Bischoff knows. Paul Heyman knows perfectly well how to book matches and how to book superstars.
Yeah.
Granted, he didn't know how to take care of their safety in ECW.
well,
but-
different era.
I know, but still, he knew what he was doing with all right, I have this much talent. I can push them all at the same time. Everyone will love them, but I still have other people in their path that I can build as well. And, I can write them in a good story. I can write them in a good situation. Unless we're fighting about the rights of adoption in a ladder match, for Christ's sake. That's my only bad issue with Paul. Other than that, they both know what they're doing. The the head honcho in charge knew that back in the day, but because he's gone so damn senile, it's scary that he hires them, and it's making me wonder, is he going to listen? Is he going to give Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman the credibility that they once had to this day again?
Go ahead, Dan.
My thoughts are that they probably just need to restructure the entire system. I feel like they've got a very formulaic breakdown for their weekly setup. They're like, all right, so we got to do this and this and this and this and that. Great, let's do it. And it just doesn't work. So I think that Eric and Paul need to come in and they need to restructure it. I like the idea of the shows starting off strong with a match before we go into any sort of story segment, because it gets your audience engaged that way, and I think that's one of the things that's caused a drop in interest for fans in general. Like even live, you go in and you're like, oh my god, just get to the wrestling, instead of listening to somebody talk for 10 minutes. Because what's the breakdown of that? That's
20 minutes.
If you are on SmackDown, that's 1/12 of your show. And that's just one segment, because you know there's going to be multiple talking segments throughout the show. How many did we have during this SmackDown? There was at least the in-ring segment with KO and everybody.
Samoa Joe and
Kofi.
I think that was good.
I don't remember. But there were a couple. And then you've got backstage segments.
Yeah.
You don't want to start with talking, because it's kind of like going to a class. You know from having just gotten out of schooling that you go into a lecture hall class and you sit there and somebody just talks for an hour and you go,
I'm going to shoot you.
At a certain point, because it's just white noise.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to somebody just talk from the minute you get into the arena, you're gonna tune out. Versus if you throw an Andrade versus anybody match, Andrade and Finn, since we had that a couple weeks ago.
Great match.
Throw Andrade and Finn as your opening match. Audience is gonna be on fire going into the next segment, and then you can have your talking segment, and then you at least start up here.
Yeah.
So they've got further to drop before they tune out again. But if you start here and you drive them negative, and then you try to get them back, now you're fighting an uphill battle the entire show. So I think that's a good first step for both of them. That should be the new norm. The only time that a talking segment should open a show is if it's like a 2-minute talking segment that leads into that match.
Or if it's relevant.
Well, if you ask Vince and the current creative staff, it's always relevant. But so restructuring. They need to restructure the program, because it's like a rusty old bike. You got some of the parts that have actually fallen off, so the machine's not going to work, and you're probably going to get tetanus.
I think you've brought this up before, Dan, that usually now, especially with this godforsaken wild card rule, you have your Roman Reigns, your Seth Rollins, your AJ Styles, and I'd say your Becky Lynch. And apparently, I think this is exactly how it goes, where they go, okay, so we got 4 top stars. Let's book them. Everybody else, we'll think of something. So it's like they put all this focus and emphasis on the top 4 people of the show. Then they go, everybody else, you'll just pretend like you're pregnant. You'll just do this. Okay, cool. We got a 3-hour show. Let's go. Let's do it. As opposed to actually having structure, building up stars like Cesaro.
You've got to let that
No, I will never let it go. It's been 5 years and that man has still not been WWE champion.
You know what? I need to do this now, because he's been pushing this every other week. I'm going to give you 2 to 5 minutes to really break down why Cesaro needs that push.
Dan?
Why does Cesaro need that push? Here's why.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Wrong channel.
Wrong.
Wow.
It's an homage. I like Simon.
Dean?
Yeah, Simon Dean.
Oh, God.
Best gimmick WWE's ever done.
Simon System.
Go ahead, explain to us your whole Cesaro aficionado
So,
camaraderie.
I think that they had struck lightning in a bottle when Cesaro won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, because that was the first one ever. It was at WrestleMania 30, spotlights and all, and the reaction that this guy got was unanimous. I honestly thought that if Cesaro won that match that nobody would have cared, but everybody did. You align this guy with your favorite advocate, Paul Heyman, which we all know, 9 times out of 10, if you're aligned with Paul Heyman, you're going to become a someone or a something. Vince McMahon always liked to say that he wants, his strong, powerful guys, who can do a lot in the ring and, who can do all the power moves and whatnot. Cesaro is not the biggest guy in the world, but have you seen that guy wrestle? There's a reason why they call him pound for pound the strongest guy in WWE, because some of his feats of strength are incredible.
That suplex from the outside when he's on the second rope is always really cool.
Or sometimes when he gut wrenches you, and even when the guy tries to sandbag he
just kind of runs you around the ring.
And the way this guy just springboards, does uppercuts, and this guy's amazing. He could maybe work on the promos. I don't really blame him, because the guy knows 5 languages, so there are moments where he kind of has, tongue twisters and he kind of slurs a little bit, so maybe that's just a dialect thing. But this guy is really entertaining, and the best part is you don't have to give him a 20-minute mic segment. Just let him go out in the ring and have a match. Look at all the stuff he's been doing with Ricochet. You can't tell me that not one of those matches haven't been exciting or haven't been, off the cuff. So there's my answer to you. Well-deserving athlete who, if he maybe works on his promos a little bit, he's the complete package, not Lex Luger.
No, because Lex Luger was the total package. You're saying he's the complete package.
See, I'm rebranding.
Just like how Raw and SmackDown will get rebranded eventually.
Or you can dream.
Well, we need to talk about how Paul and Eric are going to bring some life back now that they're the creative chosen ones. They're the Drew McIntyres of the creative team.
Uh-huh.
So, what do we think? As we talked about, in their original runs, they were on the opposite shows. Yes. Now, Paul's in charge of Raw, which is where he's been for the last couple of years, mostly because he was working with Brock Lesnar. And then you got Eric over on SmackDown, which is a little strange. Raw under Paul, SmackDown under Eric. We kind of talked about what we think should be the first step. I said restructuring. You said
fire and rehire
them.
I said restructure from a superstar standpoint.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options for where this can go.
Essentially what it is completely trimming the fat.
Okay, let's just say for half a second, let's look at this as a process. So if we...
Wait, are you taking a survey?
AWP in the...
He asked us to finish it.
Well, because we shine a spotlight on you. So
I was trying to Kevin Nash it to your Scott Hall.
No, that.
Okay, fine. One more time.
I feel like we missed the moment, but okay.
A moment of bliss.
Are you saying?
And no, he ruined it with that. Okay. Now you just go.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
When we throw the ball, make sure you catch it.
How about this? Hey yo.
No, that doesn't work.
It does for me, and that's all that matters.
Selfish.
Aren't we all? Did you just call me a fish?
Yeah.
Fish out of water.
You're selfish.
Get it?
Why is he hitting you?
I don't know.
Did he just caress your arm?
Yeah, I'm used to it. What?
So that's what I was going to say for my survey. Hey yo.
No, we need to go. Let him go. Go.
So if let's look at it as a process. So let's say if we get new writers and we trim the fat of the superstars, where do we go next? Where would you guys go next? We have new creative writing team. We've trimmed some of the fat on the roster, and now we go, okay, what do we do now?
I don't know. So I don't know if WWE actually focus groups. I feel like they used to. I don't know if they do anymore.
Maybe they should again.
But if they're not doing it right now, it's something they should probably do. Is
Dire need.
get some casual fans, some diehard fans in a room, show them past recent episodes, and be like, what feedback do you have on this?
Now, which 3 fans could they pick out?
I don't know, a certain 3 that tend to never agree on something on a podcast. And then they do a podcast about the dying product. And if they do a podcast about the product...
Okay, is
that
he
we
going
do,
off
Can
on
you let me finish my tangent, please?
You know,
Damn it!
you know that tangent means you never actually arrive at your location. Right?
That's my point.
Well, it's about time that we do arrive at a location.
You can catch Ride Along on the WWE Network for a non-negotiable but very reasonable price of only $9.99. And that is how you steal a bit.
Jesus Christ.
What have I done to deserve this?
It's not what you did.
It's what you didn't. Oh.
Well, that too. But it's what the show has done to us today.
Thank you for listening. And
Yeah, might as well.
so
Okay, fine. You guys want to
we got to restructure. We got to get a finger on the pulse of the fan base, because if you just keep driving blind, eventually you're gonna hit a tree.
So before Sean points to the stars and through the glass behind me,
Don't make me pull a
if
Ronda
he could
Rousey.
be serious for a minute.
Who's being serious? You?
Yes,
All
him.
of us.
Yeah, let's be serious for a minute. You're gonna hit a tree, and if you hit the tree, then everybody dies. So
I think they've hit the tree. Everyone's surviving.
well, I think they're
Barely.
driving through a forest, and they keep kind of deflecting off of trees.
They're hitting small branches.
Yeah, and so like the windows are broken. We're missing a side view mirror, but we haven't quite head-on into an oak yet. But we're getting there.
A crash
I can see
collision.
it. It's right there.
Heading into Extreme Rules.
Yeah, basically extreme trees. So.
Why are you still Why are you still pointing at
Are you
nothing?
calling your shot?
He doesn't watch baseball.
Restructure, redefine,
Rebuild.
rebuild, renew, reuse, recycle,
We can't get on
Reduce.
track with this.
reduce.
Don't reuse.
Don't reuse.
Well, no.
I mean, unless it's like a plastic cup, reuse the plastic cup.
Or toilet paper.
Don't no.
What?
I think you've missed
Whoa,
the entire
what?
concept of recycling, and it makes me a little uncomfortable.
Very.
So, compost.
Outhouse.
Next week, join us when Daniel Bryan comes to give us a 40
that would be an
minute
episode.
TED talk about recycling.
That would be an episode.
Um,
We'll eat hot dogs in front of him.
restructure the system. Reach out to your fan base. Get back to basics. I'm done.
Are you
Kamish?
though? Are you though?
See, that's the problem. He says he's done, but then you question if he's done, which leads him to believe that he's really not done, because then you want him to interact with you. So when he interacts with you, we go off on a tangent and then we can't focus. Do you see the problem here?
Am I done?
Are you?
And he doesn't listen and does the same
Are
thing.
you?
No, I'm just getting started, mofo.
Let's
Whoa.
reel it in, wrap it up,
And close the door.
Cola.
We're just...
Final thoughts on the whole thing now that this episode had no fucking structure. We can't even follow our own advice.
Okay,
apparently.
fine. You want me to be serious? I'll be serious. If I can be serious for a minute
Okay.
and a final minute, this is me being serious.
Okay.
I think the two of them can bring back what used to be great about what we love to watch and what we love to debate and what we love to bullshit on, because that's what we've been doing today. Bullshitting about these two who have the possible greatest jobs in the world to make the product that we love watching amazing again. Why do I believe in them? Because they ran two of the best companies that gave the main company the greatest competition ever in WCW, Wrestling, and EC Dub. That's how you bring it back home.
Why are you yelling?
I don't know, because I'm the commish, I'm the advocate,
And I'm awesome.
I've heard that somewhere before, by the way.
Miss Talk?
I don't know, it might be a mistake.
It's all on you, the shunt.
Bring it home.
We have a lot of work to do. You're right. We can't expect everything to be in tip-top shape after one episode. However, I think we've all kind of put out a floor plan here today is that you need to have a structure. You can't just continuously go on with the same thing and then expect your fans to just cheer and go, it still sucks, but because Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are running it, we'll just accept it. I think we need to look at this from every single aspect. Trimming the fat, having a floor plan. What do we do first? What do we do next? How do we plan things out like we used to for about 6 months where a feud made sense, the fights made sense, the promos, the segments all made sense. I think it's going to take a long while until we actually get this thing up and running. But I think if you, especially with AEW coming down the pike, you're going to have to speed it up immediately because seeing what I saw at Fyter Fest, I'm like, oh my goodness, these guys are about to take over. And I'm not talking about NXT, by the way. So yeah, I think we got a lot of work to do. But if there's two people who can get each show off on the right foot, it's Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff. And I will not yell. I will talk in a calm, cool, collected manner because I can contain myself. He's about to ruin it.
Will you, though? Will you?
Will you?
Will you?
Are you testing me? Test.
Are we?
This is a test.
Are we?
Are we now?
Hey, yo. So
that came full circle.
yeah, unlike WWE storytelling.
No, they just go around in circles.
Yeah.
And on that note,
Thank you so much for... it all makes sense now. It just hit me. What did I say at the beginning of this episode? This episode will be as special as the very next NXT call-up. What was this episode like?
a mess.
Much like the next.
I'm assuming I'm supposed to say NXT call-up.
It all makes sense now. Huh? Do you see the brain? Do you see how things work out?
It's like he knew.
We had a plan to talk about a certain something. Then we got derailed and we went in a completely different direction, which people are not going to like. What does that remind me of?
NXT call-ups.
Do you see the mastermind?
Oh, for Christ's sake. Finish
the show.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next week when we talk about the state of WWE catering.
Delicious cake.
Low fat.
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Delicious. See ya.
Only on the WWE network.
I'd watch that show.
Oh, I'd watch the shit out
For a
of that shit.
non-negotiable
But reasonable price of only
$9.99.
$9.99.
$9.99.